Talking about the last sessions, through which we have gone. So we have considered the states and capitals, so 28 different states and their capitals, as well as 9 different union territories and their capitals. So I was talking about as I said, the different states. So we have started from, let's say, the first state we will consider here in that is we can consider the Himachal Pradesh, who is having its capital as Shimla. Then second we can have the nearby state of Himachal Pradesh, that is Punjab, whose capital is Chandigarh. The same city or same capital is being shared by another state called as Haryana. So Haryana and Punjab both are having same capital. Then we can consider the next state, which is nearby to Haryana and Himachal Pradesh, that is Uttarakhand, whose capital is at Dehradun. Then we can consider nearby state of Uttarakhand, that is Uttar Pradesh, whose capital is Lucknow. Then we're going to the next state that is we can have is the Bihar. Then if we consider its capital, that is Patna, then next state is Jharkhand, whose capital is Ranchi. Odisha, Bhubaneswar. Now nearby the Jharkhand and Odisha, there is Chhattisgarh, and whose capital is Raipur. Then come to the our neighborhood, that is Telangana, which is having its sharing border with Andhra Pradesh as well as the Chhattisgarh. So that is the Telangana and whose capital is Hyderabad. Again, this capital is being shared by another state, which is called Andhra Pradesh. So Andhra Pradesh is having its capital as Hyderabad. Now we will be going to the south. So at the south, we have a state called Tamil Nadu that is having its capital at Chennai. Then Kerala, whose capital is Tiruvananthapuram. Now Bangalore is the capital of Karnataka, another neighbor of us. Then very closest nearer is Goa, whose capital is Panji. And then after this, obviously our state we can consider, that is Maharashtra, whose capital is Mumbai. We will be going upward, that is Madhya Pradesh, whose capital is Bhopal. Now we will be going to the seaside, wherein we have Gujarat, whose capital is Gandhinagar. And I think from this part, only one state has left, that is Rajasthan, whose capital is Jaipur. So all these have been, let's say we can consider, we have started from one point and now we ended with the nearby the same point. So let's go towards the eastern side of the India, where we have the first state called West Bengal. So West Bengal is having the capital as Kolkata. Then next we can consider the Sikkim, whose capital is Gangatok. Nearby the Sikkim, we are having Assam, whose capital is Dispur. And right side of this particular Assam there is Meghalaya, right, slightly downward, whose capital is the Shillong. Then we can go upper side of the Assam, which is called Arunachal Pradesh, who is also sharing its border with the China and whose capital is Itanagar. Then we will be coming down to the Arunachal Pradesh and Assam. There is Nagaland we have, and its capital is Kohima. Then below of this particular state, we have Manipur, whose capital is Imphal. Then second last, again below of the Manipur, there is Mizoram, whose capital is Aizawl. And I think last state among these 28 states, there is Tripura, whose capital is Agartala. Along with these 28 different states and their capitals, we have also considered the national capital, which is no doubt at New Delhi for India. And after these 28 plus 1, we have 9 different union territories. So the first union territory we can consider, that is the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, who is having its capital at Port Blair. Then Chandigarh is, although a capital, but itself is a union territory, and whose capital is again at the same state, that same place, that is Chandigarh. Then Dadar and Nagar Haveli we can consider. So its capital is Silvassa. Daman and Diu at Daman. If we consider Delhi, national capital, itself is a union territory, again whose capital is at New Delhi. Then Lakshadweep, we can consider one of the islands wherein its capital is Kavaratti, and Puducherry is having its capital as Pondicherry. No doubt Jammu and Kashmir, newly created. Who are having their capitals as Srinagar in summer and Jammu in winter. And the last union territory created newly is Ladakh, whose capital is Leh. Right? So since the last two, that is Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, have been newly created, so as far as this particular point is concerned, these 2 points are having a significance. So you should always intentionally keep in mind these two different names, which are very important or which have a significance of this particular field, or let's say the point. Fine. So this is about the union territories, 9 different union territories, 1 national capital, and 28 different states and their capitals. So that was related to the yesterday's session. Right. So today we will be going to let's say some of the miscellaneous things, or you can consider a part of superlatives. So wherein first today we will see the first woman in India. Okay. So obviously it can be prime minister, chief minister, governor of any of the states, then minister in the central government. Then you can consider the speaker for Lok Sabha, then speaker for state assembly, the judge of the Supreme Court, the chief justice of High Court, first judge in Supreme Court, first judge in High Court, right? First doctor, first pilot, first lady who had been entered as a pilot, likewise. So first woman in India. No doubt there will be obviously first man in or the man in India, right? So that we will be considering later on. So as far as this particular session is concerned, in fact itself will not be getting completed in this particular session. So we will be having now this particular session, that is first woman in India. So let's start from first one. So first woman prime minister, very easy answer, right? Prime minister of, or the first woman prime minister of India. So we know the name is Indira Gandhi, right? But many a times, in fact, the name is Indira Priyadarshini Gandhi. Indira Priyadarshini Gandhi. So she was the India's first woman prime minister, right? If we consider how many years she had assumed the office, so she became the prime minister in 1967. From 1967 to continuously, to be specific, it was I think January 1967. From January 1967 to the March 1977. For successive years, she was in office. She imposed the state emergency. In state emergency, right? So I think in 1975, and therefore she lost the elections in 1977. And therefore from 1977 to 80, she was not in the office of prime minister. But again in January 1980 to October, I think 31st October 1984. So on 31st of October, she was assassinated, right? So for these many years, she was the Prime Minister of India. On this date, 31st October 1984, she was assassinated by her own bodyguards, right? I think the names of their bodyguards, her bodyguards were the two, in fact three, but only two have actually carried out the assassination. So I think first one is Satwant Singh, who has shot dead on the site only, right? And second is the Bent Singh. So he was later on hanged for assassination of India's Prime Minister. So these were two different bodyguards who had, in fact, fired 31 rounds or 31 bullets on Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. Right? So I think more than 21 bullets have been passed through her body, but somewhere in body, and I think she lost her life in this particular fight with the bullets. In 1999, BBC had one online survey, and that is in fact polling, so online poll conducted by BBC for the woman of the millennium. So she was named in 1999 as the woman of the millennium. Woman of the millennium. Right. So this was about India's first woman prime minister, that is Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. Right. So this is about the prime minister we can consider. The next woman, right, which we can consider, that is India's first governor. Right. So governor of any of the state. In fact, it was for Uttar Pradesh. India's first woman governor had been for Uttar Pradesh from 1947 to 1949. Right. And the name of that governor is, you can consider, Sarojini Naidu. Sarojini Naidu was India's first woman governor of any of the states, and the name of that state is Uttar Pradesh, right? You can consider UP. So who had assumed the office of governor for more than 2 years. Right? One more thing is that her daughter, name of her daughter is Padmaja Naidu. She had also become the the governor of any of the states. And in fact, she is having a record of assuming office of governor. So Padmaja Naidu was the governor of West Bengal for more than 10 years. That is in fact 10 years and 209 days. You can consider almost 11 years. And this is the record. Nobody, as far as woman is concerned, nobody is having these many years in the office of governor. Right. So Sarojini Naidu herself was the governor of one of the states. Right. That was the first woman governor of India. And her daughter was also the governor of any of the state for serving longest. Right. So Padmaja Naidu was the longest served governor. And this is for West. So this is about the second and third lady or the woman we can consider. Then we have third woman. Now we can consider the chief minister. So India's first woman chief minister. It was for the same state we can consider is Uttar Pradesh. Now see, for Uttar Pradesh only the first woman governor was there, and now first woman chief minister for again it is for the Uttar Pradesh, and name of that chief minister is the Sucheta Kripalani. Sucheta Kripalani. If I consider her time to be chief minister, so in 1963, I think in the October 1963, she had assumed the charge of the chief minister till 1967. So she had also completed more than 4 years as chief minister of the Uttar Pradesh. So first, India's first woman chief minister is Sucheta Kripalani. Prior to chief minister, she was in fact a professor of
डॉक्टर सर कोण आहेत राहिले हो खाली घ्या ना खाली घ्या
okay, fine. Otherwise, I thought that now I will be writing unmute me. Anyway, so prior to chief minister, as I said, she was the professor of the history in the very renowned university. Right? Today is BHU, Banaras Hindu University. Now it has become IIT. Right? So professor of history in the Banaras Hindu University. And then later on, she had become the chief minister of Uttar Pradesh, or India's first woman chief minister of any of the states. Then fourth case we can consider, since we have now reached to the chief minister. So any of the minister, first woman minister in the central government, right? So minister for central government, and the name is the Raj Kumari Amrit Kaur. Rajkumari Amrit Kaur. She was the India's first woman minister, right, who had served for 10 years as a minister in the central government, right? And again, she was the India's first right, first health minister. Health minister, right, as a woman. So she is having two different records, right, which we can consider. The first one is herself was the minister of any of the departments, and also the first health minister or the first woman health minister of India is the Rajkumari Amrit Kaur, right? So she was also the member of Constituent Assembly, right? We can consider this was the fourth name which we have considered, right? Now we can have the next one, that is let's call number 5. Fine. So judge in Supreme Court. So first woman judge in the Supreme Court, and the name Fatima Bibi. Fatima Bibi was appointed in 19 of the chief any of the high courts in India. Right. So see, Chief Justice. Fine. It is only the judge, one of the judges. There are so many different judges. If we consider the current or recently concluded issue for any of there will be only one chief minister, chief supreme chief justice of Supreme Court, right? So chief justice of High Court. The first woman chief justice of any of the high courts. Rather, she was the first woman who had become the judge of the high court. So Delhi High Court's first woman judge. Okay. That means, see, this one is different. So this one is for the High Court of Delhi, and this is for the Supreme Court, right? So therefore, you have two different names, right? So Leela Seth was initially she was the first lady who had become the judge of the High Court of Delhi. One more thing we can consider here, that she was one of the members of the Hindu Succession Act, that has in fact the member of 15th Law Commission of India, and that was related to the Hindu Succession Act. And because of her, nowadays, after 1991, in fact maybe it might have started later on, the rights, equal rights to the daughters in the joint family's property. So earlier there was no right for any of the daughter for her father's property, but nowadays it is rather equal right. And because of the Leela Seth, right, who had a member of the 15th Law Commission, who in fact proposed that particular right to the daughters, India's daughters, in the rather equal rights to the India's daughters in the property of her father, right? So that was the another notable thing done by the Leela Seth. So she was the first Chief Justice of the High Courts. Fine. Then we can consider the eighth one. Let's India's first Speaker of Lok Sabha, woman Speaker of Lok Sabha. First Speaker of Lok Sabha. In fact, back to back, then we had for 10 years the two different ladies for this particular place. So the name is Meera Kumar. So government of Congress, I think second session, second session of Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. So in that particular phase, I think 2009 to 2014. So Meera Kumar was the Speaker of Lok Sabha, and she is the first woman speaker for Lok Sabha. Right? If you consider its election, the Speaker of Lok Sabha, so it was unopposed, so elected unopposed. Mostly, any government always try to be unopposed election for the Speaker of any of the assemblies, whether it is Lok Sabha or any of the state assembly into 28 different states. So India's first woman speaker for Lok Sabha is Meera Kumar, right? That we can consider. Then I think this was seventh one. Now we can consider eighth. Here, as we have considered the speaker for Lok Sabha, let's consider the speaker for state assembly, any of the state assemblies. So India's first woman, India's first woman speaker of any of the state assemblies, and it is the name is Shano Devi. It is Shano Devi. So for which state? It was for Haryana. Right? Haryana's legislative assembly, Haryana Vidhan Sabha. And I think from 1966 to 1967, for more than 1 year, she was the speaker of the state assembly. Right. So India's first woman speaker of any of the state assemblies is Shano Devi, and that was for the Haryana. Then we can consider the next woman who had presided over the General Assembly of United Nations. Very strong and respected position we can consider. So President of United Nations General Assembly. In fact, currently also there is a lady president, right? So United Nations General Assembly. So from India, the name is the Vijaya Lakshmi Pandit. Vijaya Lakshmi Pandit. I think she was sister of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So she was the representative in the United Nations General Assembly, and on this particular for this particular president, if you consider, the voting is always done on yearly basis, and this particular president always presides over the sessions of General Assembly. So she was the president in 1953, and I think that was eighth session of United Nations, right? So if we consider this one, then if it is eighth session, then you can consider when did the first session was there. So obviously if you go 8 years back, so it will be always 1946. So that means here it will be the first session. So always keep in mind. So this question was only logical. Fine. Then what about current session? So how many years of the current? So I think this might be the current might be 74th session, right? So that you can consider. So only in one answer you find out first one, you find out the last one or the current which is going on. So you have to always look for this particular thing, right? So 1953, that was 8th session headed by or presided by Vijaya Lakshmi Pandit, and that was first woman president from India for United Nations. Right. Here we can consider the first woman lawyer. First woman lawyer. India's first woman lawyer. And the answer is the Cornelia Sorabji. Cornelia Sorabji. If you consider, she was the first female who had graduated from Bombay University. So Bombay University's first graduate woman is also the Cornelia Sorabji, I will write here, first woman graduate from Bombay. Earlier it was Bombay University. Bombay University. Right. We have to also see the different universities in the state of Maharashtra. Right. So, first woman graduate from the Bombay University. Again, now see how many first are attached with this particular name, apart from India's first woman lawyer. So, she was the first woman who had gone to the Oxford University to study the law. Right. So, first to study law at Oxford University. Oxford University. So already first. And again, she was the first woman to advocate India, advocate in India. Right, that is India's first woman lawyer. So first and first. Right, so she was first graduate from Bombay University. Then she was first to study at the Oxford University, that is particularly law. And excuse me. Sorry. So India's first woman lawyer is Cornelia Sorabji. Right. So this was about the India's first woman lawyer. Then we can consider the one more thing. What I wanted to tell, she was the first to advocate to practice practice as advocate in India, as well as in Britain. In Britain. Right. So that was related to the India's first woman lawyer. Now we can consider the next thing, that is the India's first lady who had been Miss World. Right. First lady Miss World. Miss World. Now, if you consider, so till now, whatever name you have thought, so I think it is not that one, right? So the first name, the first Miss World from India is Rita Faria. Rita Faria. Later on, she became Powell. Rita Faria. She was basically from Goa, right? So she became Miss World in 1960. Miss World in 1966. Prior to the first Miss World, right? She was the first Asian woman. As like Miss World, there is Miss Asia. So first Asian woman, right? Again, to win this particular honor, to win the event, I will write, to win the event. So we can consider this one. Now, one more thing, she was the first doctor by profession. She was doctor. I think she was doing MBBS, right? So she was the first doctor to qualify, right, for this one. So India's first Miss World is Rita Faria. Then again, if you consider what she was exactly, although she was a doctor, but she was India's one of the models. So Indian model. I think 1 year back also there was a doctor from maybe one of the institutes or the hospitals from AIMS, right? So I think she had won something kind of the competition or the event, right, which I can consider. Then, so where she was doctor? She was doctor at JJ Hospital at Mumbai. And prior to again Miss World, she was the Miss India. And before Miss India, she was Miss Mumbai. So she climbed from Miss Mumbai to Miss India, right? Then started doing modeling, and then she won the event called Miss World. So India's first lady who had been the Miss World, that is Rita Faria Powell, right? Then we can consider the next one, that is India's first Lieutenant General. Till now, nobody had to the highest position, either general or the chief of the, you can consider Air Chief Marshal or the Admiral. But second position in that particular hierarchy was achieved by the women's. So if you consider the India's first lieutenant general. So as I said, it is 3-star after general, which is 4-star. So lieutenant general, 3-star rank. And the name is, I think, Punita Arora. Punita Arora. So you must be thinking about it. If she had become the lieutenant general, so in order to become this, or in order to achieve this rank, you have to have spent 35 years of your service, right, after becoming lieutenant. Then you must be thinking that 35 years before, there was no place for